Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. The majority of this podcast is going to be sort of a continuation of some of the things that we talked about last week, and also following up on some feedback that I got from you, my viewers. One of the things that I asked last week was, would you be interested in seeing more keto test kitchen videos? Videos where I experiment with different ingredients, different brands of a given ingredient, different cooking techniques to see what the outcome is. And your response was a resounding yes, which just delights me. I'm a total kitchen science geek. I love Alton Brown, loved Good Eats back in the day, love modernist cuisine. And I think of the kitchen as sort of a cross between a laboratory and a playground. And I'm so very excited that a number of you agree with that and want to see more of those videos. So expect to see those coming on a fairly regular cadence, maybe every other week. The other topic that I asked about, and people definitely said they wanted to hear about, was keto when dining out. How do we behave as a keto person when we dine out or have a social situation that involves food? Or even more tricky, one of my viewers, Lydia Johnson, asked, what do you do when you're invited over to someone's house for dinner? So I'm going to try and cover all of those things, but the great thing about this topic is I expect I'm going to learn as much from all of you as you learn from me. I'm just going to share sort of my approach, and I suspect that a lot of you in the comments will be able to share yours, and we can all draw upon each other's experiences and tips and tricks. When it comes to dining outside of your house, I think that there's really two elements. There's sort of the social aspect. So how do we talk about what we are doing in terms of our lifestyle? And then there's the food aspect. What are we actually going to eat? In terms of the social aspect, I think a lot of that depends on who you're eating with and how well they know you. If they know you well, they know you're already eating keto, it's not going to be a big deal. Maybe it's a work-related thing, whether that's going out or food is brought in, and maybe these people don't necessarily know that you're on keto. I would say similar to that would be any sort of a party, like a graduation party, a wedding reception, birthday party, whatever, those sort of things. You're going to be dealing with some people that perhaps don't know you as well. And I think you got to kind of make the decision, do I want to get into some of the potential BS that I might have to deal with if I start talking about keto? And some days I kind of feel like a bit of a keto zealot and I want to share the story. Other days, I'm not in the mood to engage because you know that you're going to be dealing with somebody that has just been absolutely indoctrinated by the standard American diet, and they're just going to make a big stink. And, it's just not worth it to me. So depending on who I may find myself having to explain keto or what I'm doing in terms of what I'm eating, there's sort of a spectrum for me from sort of a little white lie on one end to, yeah, I'm on keto and I'm proud on the other end. So let's say it's a situation where there's a spread of food. It's a holiday party, it's a birthday, graduation, whatever it is. And usually in those sort of places, there's going to be some cheese and maybe some deli meat, some salami, whatever, olives, pickles. These are some good things to go after. There might be a vegetable tray. Grab yourself some broccoli, some cauliflower. You can pretty easily fill up a plate with some of those things and not look like you're doing anything different to anybody else. But you're also going to probably encounter someone who made some dish, something that's just an absolute keto no-go. Fruits or sugar or cake or something like that. And they're going to say, hey, did you have a piece of cake? Did you have some of my cherry cheesecake? Did you have some of my apple pie? At this point, now you got to make a decision. Am I going to stay keto? And I think you should. Are you going to tell a little white lie? Like, oh boy, I wish I would have seen that already. I filled up so much on the cheese, I couldn't even eat another bite. Do you start sort of easing into the keto conversation where you say perhaps, I've been kind of experimenting with my diet, sort of a little mini elimination diet to see which things affect me, how I feel better when I eat some things versus other things. And I've really kind of found that sugars and grains just make me feel kind of crummy. So I'm going to probably pass this time, but oh boy, it does look good. When it comes to dining out, it's my opinion that you almost need to make a little bit of a concession depending on how clean you like your keto. It can be very, very difficult to be perfectly clean keto when you're dining out. I don't try. I make the concession that at best I can probably get some moderately clean keto. But there are going to be some potentially hidden type of ingredients that I'll talk about towards the end of this topic that, you just got to kind of be aware that you might run into. What I try to do is avoid being like Meg Ryan in When Harry Met Sally, that scene in the diner where she's ordering. I don't want to be that person at a restaurant. So where possible, I try to avoid the situations that are going to involve some elaborate substitutions in a given menu item. I've had some viewers say it's just so hard to dine out when you're keto. And to that I would say I kind of agree. I agree that it's hard to find a lot of good keto options on a menu. But think about when you were pre-keto and you'd look at a menu and you're looking and just, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff here and it all looks so good. I can't make up my mind. When you're keto, there's like a couple of options on the menu is all. You can really eliminate an awful lot of the menu just by looking at anything that has grains or sugars. I think if you're watching this video, you're probably pretty aware of what you can and cannot eat on keto. And it's just a matter of scanning through the menu and seeing how far astray any given item is. And if it's not too far astray, can you make one substitution or request to get it to keto? I think the easiest meal of the day, breakfast. Because bacon, eggs, sausage, pretty much good to go. Have a cup of coffee, right on. Tell them to hold the toast. You don't have pancakes, you don't have French toast. Bacon, eggs, have an omelet. The one thing I would recommend though is if you are at a place that's serving breakfast, ask about what they're using for their scrambled eggs and omelets. Is it a powdered mix or is it fresh eggs? Because if it's a powdered mix, there's the chance that there could be something in there, some additive, something that's not entirely keto. It could be some dried soybean oil or something, I don't know. But I do know that if you're dealing with a powdered mix egg, you may be getting into some, at the very least, dirty keto territory. But for the most part, breakfast, pretty easy one to do. For lunch, typically my strategy is either a salad, in which case the potential pitfall there is the dressing. Very many salad dressings contain soybean oil. So if you do get a salad, for the dressing, I would recommend either oil and vinegar, or find out if they've got any sort of vinaigrette and if they can tell you what's in it. Another alternative on salad is if they've got like a chicken or steak fajita salad, you order that up, tell them, hold the tortilla chips. And I think that's pretty much, you're good to go. Keto, your dressing is basically salsa and sour cream. Now there may be some added sugar in the salsa. If you want, you can avoid that. Tell them, you just like some Tabasco along with your sour cream. Anything that's served on a bun or as a wrap, you can pretty much get them to bring you without the bun, or if it's a wrap, just say, hey, this wrap looks really good. Could you just throw that in a bowl for me and let me eat it as a salad? Just be aware that if the sandwich or wrap has any sort of mayo or special sauce, you might be looking at soybean oil and added sugar. The soybean oil in mayo, added sugar in things like barbecue sauce, ketchup, etc. I had some people comment last week that told me that they actually keep their own Walden's Farm salad dressing in their office. I don't know if that needs to be refrigerated. I would think it would once you open it. Maybe they've got like a little under the desk fridge. I'm not sure exactly how I would feel whipping out my own dressing or condiments or whatever at a restaurant. Again, I suppose it depends on how clean you want to keep your keto, but that's an option as well. When it comes to dinner, it's pretty much steak or like a baked fish or a baked chicken for me. Those are pretty much your safest bets. Kind of like with lunch, you want to pretty much steer clear of most sauces because odds are they're going to have something in it that is not especially clean. Very often sauces are going to be thickened with cornstarch or flour, so be aware of that. Many times the appetizers section can be a great place for keto, assuming it's not a place in Wisconsin where everything is dipped in batter and fried. You may find things like a Mexican drunken shrimp bacon wrapped. Pretty safe. Or some sashimi or tuna poke or something like that. So there have been times when I have eaten exclusively off the appetizer menu. I'll just get 2 apps, call that my dinner. In terms of side dishes, especially replacing like potatoes, most restaurants seem pretty easygoing about subs. Typically for sides, it's the more starchy stuff that they offer. The potatoes, the rice, that sort of stuff. But almost always they'll have some sort of vegetable, whether it's a mixed vegetable or broccoli or cauliflower. Go with that. If they don't, you can ask, hey, instead of fries, could I get like a small house salad? Oil and vinegar dressing. And then for me, in terms of beverages, it kind of depends on the meal. You'd get water with lemon, you could get iced tea with lemon, coffee, naturally. If it's dinner and you're going to go with a wine, my recommendation would be a Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio if you're going white. Both of those are very dry and pair well, I think, Sauvignon Blanc, especially with fish, because it has almost that citrusy sort of bite to it. Pinot Grigio, probably better with chicken. If you're going with red, a nice dry Cabernet Sauvignon is probably the way to go. So it's what I would do. Now, I don't dine out a whole lot. Even before this current situation, if we went out once a month, that was sort of a rarity. I just far prefer to make my own food because I love to cook, and I think for the most part I wind up doing a better job than most restaurants that I go to in terms of taste, and I know exactly what is in the dish. So for those of you who have more dining experience, I would love for you to share down in the comments below some of your strategies, both the social strategy, how do I deal with people and how do I explain what I'm doing, as well as what I eat. Are there any tips, tricks, things like that you would share? I believe the trickiest dining out situation is not when you're going to a restaurant, but when someone invites you over to their house to eat. It's a situation that I'm going to be in another 2 weeks. Actually, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Some friends that we haven't seen in a while invited us over. And I expect that it is going to be very carby. As I see it, there are 3 choices. I can go, say nothing, break keto, and just eat whatever they serve, and kind of feel a little bit crummy the next day. I can go and surprise them by telling them that I'm keto and won't be eating most of what they cooked. That seems like a bad choice. Or I can give them a heads up in advance. And to me, I think that is the best choice. I think a person would far rather know early on that they might need to adjust their menu for you than to be surprised the night of a visit. They might be a little bit annoyed, like, oh man, Steve thinks he's so special. He's telling us what to make. He's coming to our house and telling us what to make. And my approach is going to be somewhere between the little white lie and the mostly truth, where I say that I've been experimenting a lot with the things that I eat and finding out what things make me feel good and what things sort of make me feel kind of crummy. And as a result, I've really essentially eliminated sugars and grains from my diet. So just wanted to let you know in advance. I don't want to come and show up and be a picky eater, but if there's anything you can do, if you haven't already planned out what we're going to eat, I think especially if you volunteer to be the one that makes a dessert, that can be a great way to avoid some sugars and grains and seem like a good guest at the same time. As with the dining out stuff, I would love to hear if any of you have a method for when you're invited to someone else's house. How do you handle the entire keto thing? I think between all of us, we are going to create a very, very helpful repository of tips and tricks here in the comments. And I expect that at some point in the future, I will probably take all of these different ideas and suggestions and compile them into maybe a future podcast. Another thing I talked about last week was YouTube Premium and the ability to skip ads. But before I talk about that, I'm actually going to have an ad. So last week, I saw one too many Perfect Keto commercials and decided I was going to get YouTube Premium. Now, as I talk about it here, I'm not trying to sell you on YouTube Premium. I don't get any sort of kickback from YouTube if you decide, based on watching this video, to get YouTube Premium. First off, I just love not seeing ads. It's still, every time I go to a video, it makes me so happy to just snap right into that video. No ad. The other thing I really like is YouTube Music, which is also included with YouTube Premium. I like the app on my phone. When you first set it up, it gives you a list with pictures of various different artists, and you tap the ones that you like. And as you tap ones you like, it will give you similar ones, so it can start to kind of figure out your musical taste. You pick Nirvana, and then Foo Fighters, and Soundgarden, and Mother Love Bone pop up. And as you go and keep clicking on these various artists, eventually it starts to really understand your musical taste and will create custom playlists for you. I like the fact also that there is a lot of music in there that you don't find on Spotify. Things that back in the day you would only find like on a bootleg, live performances, live in the studio type things, like when artists are on a radio show or something like that and they come and they do an acoustic version of a song. I really like that. Additionally, if there's a music video that's associated with it, you can watch the video on your phone. The one thing that is a little bit of a disappointment is that there is not a direct integration with the Amazon Echo, like Spotify does. So you can't just tell your Echo to play such and such a song on YouTube Music. You need to actually create a Bluetooth connection from your phone to your speaker to play it. I'd love to see that integration at some point in the future, but since YouTube is owned by Google and they've got their own smart home devices, I don't know that we're going to see that happen. Now, one thing that initially kind of disappointed me a little bit when I mentioned YouTube Premium and not watching ads was the huge number of responses that I got from people that told me, oh, I use an ad blocking software or browser, so I never see ads. And it seemed like a lot of these people were sharing this information so that others could also get ad blocking software or browsers. And here's where this was kind of disappointing to me. 93% of my revenue comes from YouTube ads. And if you are using an ad blocking software, not only do I not get any sort of revenue, but also your view doesn't even register as a view. And views are important because the more views you have, the greater the likelihood that YouTube will recommend your channel to non-subscribers, which is good because then hopefully they become subscribers. So as I'm reading these comments, I'm sure what I was feeling was very much like what Metallica felt when Napster was around. I suddenly understood why, as an artist, that it's troubling when people are taking your content for free. At the same time, I get it. I get not wanting to watch ads. I'm not going to fault anybody for not wanting to watch ads. Furthermore, I'm not going to fault anybody for not wanting to pay for YouTube Premium. It's just one more subscription service. I kind of feel like I'm getting subscriptioned to death here. So, if you are using some sort of an ad blocker, I don't want you to think that I'm throwing a bunch of shade at you here and that I'm angry, but I can tell you that you're not doing me any favors by using it. It also makes me a little bit concerned about what happens long-term with YouTube between ads and YouTube Premium. YouTube just started this policy with mid-roll ads where they're going to be rolling out more ads. You're going to be seeing a lot more ads, and that's going to drive some people to Premium. It's going to drive some people to ad blockers. And I don't doubt that at some point Google/YouTube is going to figure out which people are coming in using some sort of an ad blocking software or browser, and they're going to have some sort of reaction to it. It could be a situation where YouTube starts to become sort of a pay per view of a video service, that you need to sign up and give a credit card and you get charged 2 cents, for example, for every video that you watch that is monetized. That's just, one thought about what YouTube might do. I think from a creator standpoint, there could be some smaller creators that decide, I'm just not making any money here. It's not worth the effort that I'm putting into it. It was fun while it lasted. You may have other creators that make sort of a paywall with memberships. And that's something I could do if I wanted to. I've got channel memberships, but I'm not going to create a paywall between you and videos. So everybody gets the same videos from me. My channel members, they'll get them sometimes a couple days early, but there are no videos that are exclusive to channel members. But I know that some content providers do create exclusive videos just for channel members, so it sort of becomes a pay-to-play type of scenario. I could see larger channels, and by larger I would think they'd have to be, 250,000 subscribers or more to kind of pull this off. I could see them taking their videos off of YouTube, putting them up on some other cloud server, and then creating a membership directly through their website where you come and you pay, $1 a month, $10 a year, something like that, and you get access to all of their videos. I know that there are some channels that have done that, or do that in addition to the content that they provide on YouTube. So they have a premium offering directly through their website. So these are just some of the ways that I could potentially see all of this going. And I'm not blaming people that use ad blocking software for it. I think you also have the greed aspect on sort of the Google/YouTube side. They want to make more money, so there's more ads, and you get into this sort of vicious circle, downward spiral thing. I've also been asked by people, if I hit the skip ad button, do you get revenue? And I didn't know. I looked it up. Turns out I don't. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to hit the skip ad button, because that would be pretty hypocritical. I hit that skip ad button every chance that I get. And according to YouTube, they use that data from the people that hit skip ad to both determine which ads are best for you, and also to determine what is the sort of capture rate of these commercials that people are creating. Are they interesting? Are they not interesting? And they can give that feedback then to the creators of these ads. And while I would love to believe that's true, I'm always hitting skip ad, and I'm always getting the same 3 perfect keto ads all the time. So I don't know if that's true or not. So when people ask me about the skip ad button, I tell them, go ahead, skip the ad. I can't blame you. I can't fault you for doing that. I guess ultimately, if you're looking to help out the Serious Keto channel and you don't want to sit through an ad, which I understand, the easiest way is to use any of my Amazon links. Every one of my videos, I link to my Amazon store. It's not actually my store, it's collections of stuff that I've purchased in the past, so you can see the ingredients I use, tools I use, things like that. If you go through that link, you don't need to buy anything from my store. But anything you buy within the next 24 hours, I get a tiny commission on, like 1 or 2%. So say hypothetically, you were gonna buy a Nintendo Switch. You click on the link for my store, or you click on my link for Boca Sweet or a spatula or whatever, and then you go up into your search bar in Amazon and you type Nintendo Switch and you buy that Nintendo Switch for whatever they cost, $300, $400, and I get, $3, $4 in commission, which would be about the equivalent of you watching 500 of my videos right there. The affiliate stuff on like a per click basis is far, far, far more helpful to me than you watching commercials. Because as I have said numerous times, I want to be able to make Serious Keto my job. I don't want to go back to corporate America. So if you want to help me out, if you want to help me achieve my dreams, now you know how. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this podcast. Thank you for watching or listening.